Once you've found a profitable item that you're ready to send into Amazon FBA, what's the easiest way to get that done? In today's video, I'm going to show you the entire step-by-step process of actually creating an FBA shipment. And to do that, let's start by breaking down the basic supplies that you'll need, and then we'll walk through the entire shipment creation process. So the first thing you'll need to start shipping into Amazon is a printer. If you can swing it from the jump, go ahead and just get a Rollo label printer or a Dymo label printer. This will make the process a lot easier, but if you just want to use your standard at-home printer, you can do that as well. Your supplies list will just be a little bit different. You're also going to need a couple basic labels. So 4x6 labels are what you need. You can buy these on Amazon, or you can also get these free from UPS if you have a UPS account, which is free to create. If you didn't want to get the label printer, then you'll just go ahead and get half sheet labels, and these will work with your standard at-home printer. On top of those labels, you'll also need FN SKU labels. These are the labels that we're going to actually put on each individual product that we're sending into Amazon FBA. You can just search FN SKU labels, 2x1 labels, or labels that are slightly larger than that. Those will all work for these shipments, or if you're using an at-home printer, this is the sizing. It's called a 30-up label sheet that will work with your standard at-home printer. On top of that, you also need a shipping scale. Just make sure that the shipping scale can measure at least 50 pounds. That's the weight that we're going to be putting most of our FBA boxes to. And then as far as boxes, I've always found success just buying boxes from Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. They're relatively affordable. And unless you're doing massive scale right away, going to a direct local box supplier isn't really going to save you enough money to be worth it. On top of that, you're also going to need a tape and a tape gun, obviously, to make sure your stuff makes it to Amazon safely. That should be fairly self-explanatory. And then we'll also want to use Boxem, and this is the tool that we'll actually use to create Amazon FBA shipments, get our items checked in at Amazon faster, and be able to track profit. And we'll go ahead and jump into the entire step-by-step process of using this to create a shipment. Once you've grabbed your free trial of Boxem, this is what the dashboard is going to look like. It's going to show you all of the sales you're making, the profit, all that good stuff. It's going to track the business as you go, basically. And then to start listing products on Amazon, we're going to go to inventory and then list FBA. Then we're going to start searching the products that we've already sourced profitably to sell on Amazon. If you don't know how to source products, there's plenty of videos here on the channel, but let's just go ahead and say you're selling 32 degrees item, right? You can search by title, or what's usually easier is to search by ASIN. And that's what I'm going to use to list that Pokemon toy that I showed you right at the beginning. So let's go ahead and add a new SKU for that. We can fill out any relevant information that we want for this item as well, including our supplier, the date we purchased it, and then whatever information you put in there can be turned into a custom SKU, which is going to store all that information, which makes it a lot easier to see where you bought it from, what your price was, makes repricing easier, just managing your inventory a little bit easier when you can see lots of information in your actual SKU rather than just letting it be random numbers. So let's go ahead and add that listing right there. And then just so you can see how it works when we have multiple different items, I'm going to list another item on this batch. So I added another product that I found at my local retail store the other day, recorded the cost, where I bought it, date supplied, and then also on this item, since it's a food item, we'll go ahead and add an expiration date, go ahead and add that listing right there, and then we just go ahead and press submit FBA listings. And then once this is complete, we're going to be able to actually add these items to a shipment. So you can see this one was active right away. This one can take up to 15 minutes to create a new SKU for your store. That's just Amazon's new requirement for making shipments. After those items show active in the list FBA flow, go ahead and press create a shipment. And now we're going to be able to start the actual shipment creation process by entering your shipment name, the fulfillment type. So obviously we're talking about FBA today, but you can also do FBM, so you can track your costs and profit and all that good stuff with Boxem as well. Set your ship from address to wherever you're shipping it from. And then also down here, make sure you activate 2D barcodes within Boxem as well. This is an extra barcode that we'll talk about in more detail in a second, but this basically adds an extra barcode onto your box labels. And for my business and many other Boxem users, we're seeing check-in times at least a couple days faster on average. So that's really big for your cash flow, and it's a no-brainer. Also, go ahead and set up the autofill list price. This will automatically change the price based on whatever the current price is. This is helpful so that as you're listing your inventory and it checks in at Amazon, the price doesn't go up and then you accidentally sell it cheaper than you should have. You can always lower the price down to meet where the current sales are at rather than accidentally selling it way too cheap. So I like to list 25% above the buy box. I'd also recommend turning on auto print FN SKU labels. This is going to automatically print the labels when you add them to your box. This is basically going to save you some time in the box creation process. We'll jump into that here in a second. I'm going to leave it off just so you can see how the manual review process works. And then I'm also always going to store as much data as possible within Boxem. So my buy cost, supplier, the date purchased. That's just going to help me make better data-driven decisions about what's actually working in my Amazon business. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and create our shipment right there. And we can go ahead and start adding these products to our batch. So right here, we can see that SKU that we just created. Let's go ahead and add that to our batch here. I'm going to say we have 20 of these just so you guys can see how it works when we have multiple items to list. And then down here, when we created a SKU, we actually created something that we can restock over and over again. So we do need to punch in the expiration date of this specific batch that we're shipping into Amazon. So I'll go ahead and punch that in again. In this case, it's a liquid. So we're going to go ahead and set it as a liquid. And then we also need to set the prep and label owner. This is basically deciding who is going to do the labeling of the item. And in this case, since it's a liquid, who's going to be doing the extra prep, like sealing the cap and that kind of stuff, right? So let's go ahead and add this to our shipment. Change the label or prep owner as you see fit. Just keep in mind that Amazon will charge extra fees if you have them do it. Let's also go ahead and add the other product that we added to our batch. Let's say we have 20 of these as well and fill out all the other information again. Down here at the bottom, this is much simpler. Obviously, a lot of your products aren't going to have an expiration date. They're not going to be any kind of special prep category, but just keep in mind that if it's things like sharp objects or, baby items or fragile glass items, just go ahead and mark that there. That way, Boxem can help you know what prep is required by Amazon when you're actually sending these items in. Let's go ahead and add this to our shipment as well, though, and then go ahead and press continue. And by the way, if you want to add 1,000 items to your batch, you can. If you want to add one item to your batch, you can. Add as many products as you want, and then go ahead and press continue. At this step in the process, we're going to go ahead and start adding products into our actual boxes so we can ship them off to Amazon FBA. To do that, I like using the bulk assign feature. So in this case, I'm going to say that I want to add all 20 of these to one box. I can punch all that information in here. I can set the dimensions that this box actually is, how much it weighs. So I'm just going to go ahead and input some sample values here. Go ahead and save. Obviously, you'll go ahead and whip out the tape measure, put it on the scale, that kind of thing, so you know what's actually going on there. And then we can also see on the prep instructions which specific requirements are actually needed for this product. So obviously a toy, way less needy. All we have to do is put the FN SKU label on there. I'll show you how that works. For stuff like syrup here, since it's a liquid, we'd want to go ahead and add this into poly bags. If you don't already have some of these poly bags, you can just get them on Amazon. That's where I get the majority of mine. You can see, just make sure they have the suffocation warning on here, and they're relatively cheap per unit. You can see these are like 4 cents a unit. So we just go ahead and take those products that we want to ship into Amazon, slide them down inside the poly bag, and then after we put them in the poly bag, that's when we'll go ahead and print out our FN SKU label. Again, if you have this auto printing when you add to the box, it saves you some clicks. But then once you have this FN SKU barcode right here, you're going to go ahead and go to the original product that you're sending into Amazon. In this case, you can see here's the UPC barcode on this item. So I'm going to take this FN SKU label, and then you're going to put that FN SKU label over the original barcode, trying to make sure I can do a good job looking in the mirror there. Hey, I'd say that's pretty good. Yeah, so you can see it covers the original barcode. And now when Amazon receives this and sells it to a customer, they're going to scan this barcode so that you get proper credit with the sale. And then when you're putting these FN SKU labels on the items, make sure you cover any other original barcodes that are on there. Sometimes an item might have multiple UPC codes, or in this case, it's got like a raw sticker. So I'd probably want to take the raw sticker off, or you can always put a blank white FN SKU label over the original stickers or over the original UPC barcodes. That's how I usually like to do it when I'm doing things that are in poly bags. I'll put a blank label over the original UPC, and then I'll put the actual FN SKU label on the outside of the poly bag. Now that all these syrups are assigned to a box, let's go ahead and assign all the Pokemon toys to a box. To do that, we can either create a new box instantly using the bulk assign feature, or if there's still plenty of weight and space left in your box, you can go ahead and assign them manually into the box. In this case, if we wanted to put all 20 of those in this box, we could do that right there. Just so you can see how the process works, we have multiple boxes. I'm just going to go ahead and bulk assign and create another identical box with the same dimensions and weight. And by the way, when it comes to actually printing out these FN SKU barcode labels, make sure you've downloaded Boxem Print on your printer. And by the way, when it comes to actually printing out these FN SKU labels, make sure that you start by downloading the Boxem Print software, which you can see in the printer settings. And then you'll go ahead and select which printer items are shipping out. And then you'll go ahead and select which printer you want to use, which label size you're using, and customize any of the extra information you want. This is also where you'll go ahead and enable 30-up labels if you're just using your standard at-home printer. But once you've got all of your products assigned to boxes and FN SKU labeled placed down inside the box, you're good to continue on to the next step. Once that's complete, Boxem is going to generate 3 different options for how we can get this product shipped out, and it's going to vary in terms of how far the shipments go and what placement fees are involved in shipping that item out. So like you can see here, placement fees are the price that we pay Amazon to choose which warehouse we want products to go to. These fees can be avoided if you have 5 identical boxes going to 5 different destinations. Typically, unless you're doing private label or wholesale in massive bulk, it's going to be pretty difficult to orient. Just keep in mind that you can try to optimize your shipments that way. I personally don't dedicate a lot of effort to that, especially now that we can see multiple different options. And in this case, I can see that California is my cheapest shipping option, and I can ship 80 pounds of products to California for $50.60. So since it's still about 60 cents per pound, I'm pretty happy with that. Other times though, you might see a further away destination with lower placement fees having an overall cheaper shipping option. So do keep that in mind, and make sure you just quickly check and see if any of these are the cheapest option, even if they're not the closest option. In this case, this $50 shipment is my cheapest, so I'm going to go ahead and continue and then accept those charges. Once that's complete, we're going to be able to print our UPS and FBA box labels. And then you can take both the FBA box label, which now has that 2D barcode embedded on it, and your UPS box label. Just take this, put it on the outside of the box. I usually put it on the side of the box because Amazon does not want you to cover the seam of the box with the label. You're also going to notice on the labels that you printed out, one is going to say box 1 and the other is going to say box 2, and so on up to box 1000 if you had 1,000 boxes in your shipment. So just keep that in mind, that it does matter which box you put the label on. But once your boxes are fully labeled and taped up, you're ready to get those products shipped off. Drop them off at your local UPS store, or you can also schedule schedule a UPS pickup. It does cost $6 to $10 depending on where you live, but in my experience, that's been well worth it. And I didn't even realize you could do that for a long time. Filling out my mom's minivan, driving it out to UPS. So save yourself some time. Probably worth scheduling a UPS pickup. But now you know how to get your products listed and shipped off to Amazon as soon as possible. Make sure you grab that 2-week free trial of Boxem down below so that you can start making FBA shipments, listing FBM products, and tracking the profit that your business is actually making. Also, let me know if you have any questions, comments, anything like that. Feel free to drop those down below in the comment section. Happy to answer any questions down below. But I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you want to see my exact sourcing process for how I find millions of dollars worth of product to sell online, click this video right here.